Hey, what's up you guys? It's Lou. I am back for the second part of reading a photo finish by Miss Elsie Silver. Now in the last video, we covered, I'm pretty sure, the beginning of the book, which is from like chapter 1 to like maybe chapter 17. Of course, I advise you guys to watch the first part if you haven't seen it yet, because then you will have no idea what the hell I'm talking about in the second part. So anyways, this starts the second half, or part 2 of a photo finish. Have gone from chapter 17 to chapter, I think I read chapter 22, but I stopped at chapter 23. And I'm basically going to give you guys a little rundown of what happened in the last 6 chapters that I've read. In chapter 17, it starts off with them going on a hike. Now this hike takes place on Mountain or Sasquatch Mountain or something like that. It's this mountain that's close to the ranch, which is the Gold Rush Ranch. Cole used to go training up there or whatever the hell. Like, he knows the mountain very well. And after Violet had moved out and he went over to her little apartment above the barn, he was like, hey, you moved out and you didn't tell me. And she was like, yeah, I know, I'm so sorry, that was a shitty thing to do. Let me invite you to go out and go on a hike, because I want to go on a hike. I got my cast off. I want to do these things because I can now, and I couldn't before because she got a fucked up leg. Basically, they're going up the mountain, and they're almost to the tippity top. And so the top of the mountain, there's like a little outlook so that they can look out from the top of the mountain. It's like a very pretty view or whatever the hell. And so they're about to reach the top when Cole hears a crack. Now, at first I'm like, did she fuck up her leg again or what's up? But then he's the one kneeling down in pain. And I was like, what's wrong with him? What happened to him? Because chapter 17 is them being up the mountain, right? But then it kind of cuts to chapter 18. Right before it cuts, it's like, oh, we hear a crack, and it's in Cole's point of view. And then it transfers to Violet's point of view, and she turns around after hearing the crack, and she sees Cole on the floor. And so when in my brain, I'm thinking, oh, it's Violet, but then it's Cole, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? What the fuck? You know, like, what? Did he, like, snap his ankle? Like, what do you, like, it's not just like, oh, you fell and you heard a thud. No, it's like a literal, like a snap, like a, so I'm just like, what the hell's going on, right? And so he's kneeling on the floor, and Violet is looking over him. It's like, are you okay? What happened? He's like, yeah, you just go onto the top of the mountain, like, go to the lookout, like, I'm fine, I'll be okay, I'll meet you there in a second. And she's like, no, what's wrong? You're clearly in pain, you're on the ground, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm not going up to the lookout. Are you stupid? Like, what's happening? She's like being stubborn, and he's like over here telling her like, no, you can go. It's fine. I'll be fine. I'm okay. Just, I tripped or da-da-da. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Long story short, what snapped was his prosthetic leg. He doesn't have a leg. So imagine this is his leg, right? This is his thigh, this is his calf, and where his foot is, he doesn't have that. He has a prosthetic leg because he lost his leg in the military. And I had no clue, Violet had no clue, and I just did not see that coming, like, at all. I didn't see that coming at all. So I was like, he doesn't have a leg? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like, what do you mean you don't have a leg and you didn't give us this information a while ago? Like, and especially because it's like a 2-person point of view kind of book. Like, it alternates, right? Like, one chapter is in Cole's point of view, the next chapter is in Violet's point of view. So it's like, how have we gone through the entirety of the first half of this book without knowing that he has half a leg? Like, how on earth have we gone this far without knowing? Like, I didn't see it coming. Like, maybe there's like a couple hints, and like maybe that's why he's like very insecure and he goes to therapy and shit, but like, I just had no clue. And then she's like, what do you mean? She's like, what do you mean? Violet's reaction was like, she saw it and then she was like, okay, well, how do we fix it, right? So basically what happened is something in his prosthetic leg snapped, so he can't really walk, obviously, because you have one leg. And so he needs his secondary prosthetic leg because he has a different one. He has one that he wears every day, and then there's one that he keeps as a backup, right? And that backup is all the way back at the ranch, and it's quite a far drive. And it's also a big hike down from the mountain because the mountain is fucking huge, right? And she's like, well, how do we fix this? Like, what's up with the leg? Like, what do we do? Like, what's up? And he's like, it's probably something with the pin lock or whatever the hell. I don't know what a pin lock is, but I'm guessing it's the thing that kind of holds it in place or something. And then Violet's, okay, like, do you want me to call Vaughn? And then Cole's like, oh, he doesn't know. What do you mean your own brother doesn't know that you don't have a leg? And then Violet's just like, huh? Who knows then? And he's like, only my mom does. Only his mom knows about his leg. Only he has kept it a secret since coming back from the military. Only his mom knows. And then dude has the audacity to say, you're gonna have to hike down the mountain, go get my prosthetic leg. But by the time you come back, it's gonna be dark. So you're gonna leave me here, and you're gonna leave, and then tomorrow in the morning you'll come back for me. Are you stupid? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Violet's also like, what do you mean? I'm not leaving you over here overnight. Like, what the fuck do you, like, what? What's wrong with you? Cole says, I'm fine. I haven't needed help so far. Like, I don't need you to get all sentimental now. Like, it won't be my first time sleeping outside. He just doesn't want help. She's like, nah, fuck no. How about we camp out here, and then tomorrow in the morning I'll go, and then I'll come back and I'll get your leg. And so that's what they do. So they camp out on the mountain. So they go on the side of the trail and they make a little shelter and shit. I don't know how they made a shelter, but they made like a little shelter, and they sleep there overnight. And they camp on the mountain, and you know what happens while they camp in the mountain? They kissed. Because he opens up about his leg and how he's feeling insecure, and how his leg was one of the reasons why him and Hillary broke up and basically like called off the engagement, because she couldn't deal with the fact that his leg was gone or whatever the fuck. And basically they broke up, and that was one of the main reasons. And Hillary made him feel very insecure about it, and yada yada yada, right? And so he's like opening up about all this stuff about his leg and how he's never really told anyone, and they end up kissing. But it doesn't go anywhere. That's all they do. They only kiss. And she cuts it off, right? She cuts it off, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to sleep. But they end up going to sleep right next to each other, and they're cuddling because it's cold, because they're up in a mountain and it's fucking cold. So they end up just going to sleep right next to each other. And then the next morning she wakes up, she goes, gets her prosthetic leg, and she takes some time getting his prosthetic leg. It goes from Violet's point of view to his point of view. He talks about how she kind of takes a little longer than he thought she was going to take in order to get the prosthetic leg. And then he you know, changes it out. They walk down the mountain, they drive back, yada yada yada. And he notices that Violet's being a little off. Not necessarily like mad or angry or irritated, just a little off, right? And he in his head is thinking like, oh, maybe it's awkwardness after the kiss or whatever, right? It's not. Because then we get into Violet's POV. Basically, while she was looking for his prosthetic leg in his room back at the house, you know, before she gave it to him, yada yada yada, she was looking through his room basically, and she couldn't help but notice that his laptop was opened. Well, I don't know, it doesn't hurt to take a peek, her Snoopy ass. Which, to be fair, I would do that shit too, right? Like, I would look around in the room just to see, right? And she goes and she sees on his laptop, and she taps it, and it opens up, and it's still opened up to nothing, and it ends up being their text messages. So if you guys recall, they obviously have history, and they met on a website, like on a chatting app or whatever the fuck. And she blocked him after something happened where he basically hurt her feelings, and she was like, you know what, fuck this, and she blocked him, right? And she hasn't checked any of the messages and see if he's texted back or anything like that. And she sees on his laptop the messages that she's never read, because obviously she blocked him. And the messages that he wrote her are like, he starts off with like apologizing to her, right? Apologizing, like, I'm so sorry, I don't even know if you're gonna respond to this, like, I was a dickhead and I didn't mean to, da 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 da. And then it's just like, I'm so sorry, can you just talk to me? And then he kind of gets into like, oh, how are you, is everything okay, listen, I know you're probably angry with me, I'm so sorry if I hurt you, that was never my intention, it's just complicated, it's a long story, and it's one that I would like to talk to you about if you ever text me back, like if you ever come back, right? And then obviously she didn't come back, and then he just started confessing shit to her through text, via text, right? Because he's like in his head like, oh, she's probably never gonna see this. Dude, long story short, he's been texting her this entire time. Like let me just read it to you, okay? Let me just read it to you. She sees, how are you? Is everything okay? Listen, I think you're probably angry with me. I'm sorry if I hurt you. It was never my intention. It's complicated. It's a long story. One, I'd like to tell you if you come back. I think I'm just going to keep writing to you, even if you never come back. I need this. Talking to you has been the most healing thing. Most healing thing to happen to me in years. Please respond. I'll reciprocate. Sharing much about myself terrifies me, but I'll try. I don't think you're coming back, but if you do, my offer stands. I want us, or whatever this is, back. Sometimes I daydream about meeting you in real life. I miss you. Tonight I carried your limp body through the house. Into my house. I know you're just knocked out from the painkillers, but I felt sick all the same. I've carried limp bodies before, and the thought of one being yours is almost more than I can take. I fell asleep in the hallway listening to you breathe. Today you talked me into going out for a drink at some shitty little pub. I had the most fun I've had in years. Today you moved out. I didn't expect it to hurt this bad. He's been texting her this entire time, fool. This entire time. Again, didn't know this was happening because he didn't see this in its point of view. Okay. We found out 2 truths today. In the span of 24 hours, she finds out that he doesn't have a leg, and that he's been texting her this entire time. And she just hasn't seen them because she ghosted him and she blocked him. Cool. Now, for the rest of this chapter, she kind of goes and she has a race. She has like a practice race or whatever the hell. And she went to go do that, and he didn't end up going because he fell asleep, because he didn't even actually sleep on the mountain. He was too worried about like their safety and their surroundings, because there's supposedly like a lot of wildlife on the mountain, so he didn't even sleep. And so it cuts to sort of the end of the race, or not the end of the race, she ends up winning the race, and she ends up going back home and yada yada yada, and she's so like hyped up from winning the race that she can't go to sleep, right? And so it kind of cuts to the end of the day, and it's her not being able to go to sleep, and she goes and sees Pippi, or Pipsqueak, which is, again, she still has Pippi right next to the main house. And Cole has been basically sleeping all day. He stayed home all day. He didn't go to the race. He didn't do anything. And they haven't really figured out where they kind of stand with each other after the kiss. And so she kind of goes over and she kind of makes the excuse of, oh, I'm going to go check with Pippi. Instead of like, oh, let me go see where he's at or what he's doing. And so she's there with Pippi. She's talking to Pippi, obviously. She's like, oh, we won, da 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 da. Just making a little conversation with the horse that can't talk to her back. Can't talk back to her and stuff. Cole ends up coming out from the house, and he clearly looks like he just woke up, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. Did you just wake up? Let me just read to you the conversation that they have. How about that? Basically, Violet is talking to Pippi. She's standing right there by the little stable area that they have by the main house. She's talking with Pippi, and then Cole comes out, and this is what they say, right? Okay? There's a conversation. Violet. The sound of his voice sends a thrill down my spine, deep and gravelly, a tad sleepy sounding. I turn slowly to take his dark form on the front porch of the little blue house. Hi. Did you see my race? He says, no, sorry, I didn't make it down. She says, did I wake you? He says, yeah, but it was time. She's like, huh? What do you mean? She walks over to the porch and she sees him. She says, did you sleep all day? And he says, yeah, I was pretty tired. She said, I thought you were joking about my snoring keeping you awake. He laughs. He says, it wouldn't have been safe for both of us to sleep. I kept watch. She said, we could have taken turns. I don't need you to coddle me. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. He says, that's what you keep telling me. But Violet, letting me help doesn't make you weak. It means I care. I know you don't need me, but I want to be there for you. Let me care for you in the only ways that I can. She says, is that where you tell me that's what friends do? And he says, no. And then they just kind of have this little awkward silence where they're looking at each other. And she says, I saw the messages on your laptop. She confesses this time. And it says, he blinks a few times, but his face stays predictably blank. He shows so little emotion sometimes, it's almost impossible to get a read on him. But when he turns away from me and limps back into the house, I feel enough emotion for the both of us. Walking away, again. I boil over, fiery hot, jilted, frustrated, and tired. I storm up into the house and I called home for a month, hot on his heels as he makes his way through the living room. Would you just talk to me already? He looks back. He turns, jaw popping, and the veins in his arms pulsing with tension. His hands fist and then let go as he raises his voice right back, shouting, what do you want me to tell you? I never open up to anyone. You think everything between us just started and finished with a photo for me? Like it was easy for me to lose you? To know if you were okay? To miss you so much it physically hurt? You broke me. His words wind me. My chest empties, hollow and throbbing with the weight of his confession. Both my hands creep up over my chest, my fingers wrapping around the base of my throat to the stem growing flow of nausea. He missed me. I broke him. You broke me first, I whisper, but the admission feels loud in the quiet room, like I shouted at him. You're not broken, you're perfect, and I'm a shitty fucking patchwork quilt. I've spent years picking up the tattered pieces of myself, every life event, every heartbreak, and slowly stitching it all back together, but I'm not good at sewing, Violet, and now the edges are starting to fray. I'm coming apart at the goddamn seams, and you're the only one holding the thread that could undo it all. Don't you get it? You have the power to completely unravel me, and I hate feeling like that. I promise not to unravel you, Cole. It wasn't easy for me either. You hurt me. Being that vulnerable, I need to know what this is between us once and for all. He says, I'm not good at talking. I think I should just show you. And they kiss, and they have a moment. Well, they have actually a relatively big moment because this goes on for a couple chapters. Yeah, they have a, couple chapters. Then it goes to chapter 22. We're cutting to chapter 22. After this confession thing, they obviously slept together. They had a lot of time together. Yeah, they never really they kind of just explore the fact that they really like each other, that they both have feelings for each other, but they never actually say, hey, we are together. They never identify the relationship. They're just kind of in it. Does that make sense? Yeah, it comes to chapter 22, and they wake up next to each other, yada, yada, yada. She says, oh, what time it is? What time is it? He says it's 8 p.m. She says, oh, I have to go. I have to go into the city. I've got rides today on some of the younger horses early on, and then Dee Dee in the stakes this evening. You could come in and watch. So she has a race. She has to go practice, and then she has a race. And then he obviously has PTSD with the racetrack, especially watching races happen because his dad died on a racetrack. He has PTSD with that. And so when he says, yeah, I'll go to the race, he's kind of like, fuck, I have to go to this race. And that's kind of where his anxiety starts. Okay? Because before he was just kind of awake and looking at her before, oh, hey, it's 8 p.m., I have to go, da-da-da. Or it's 8 a.m., I have to go, da-da-da. He's kind of just looking at her and kind of feeling a little insecure. In his internal monologue, he says, I'm a 36-year-old man with nothing to show for my years on Earth except a company that was handed down to me and a nice lingering dose of PTSD from a dead dad and a blown-off leg. No house, no friends, no kids. I've always wanted kids, but here I am without a single one of those things on the horizon. And in walks Violet, every one of those things readily available to her, and she wants, what, me? I just can't reconcile it. I haven't even tried to pretend I'm something else. I've been surly and unreachable, and the odd times I've given in to her allure, I've ended up shoving her away like she's nothing. It's basically just kind of, he's a little insecure right now. He's a little insecure. After he agrees to go to the race, on his way to the race, he's in traffic and he decides, let me call Trixie. Trixie is his therapist. He's like, hold on, let me call her. I need a doctor. And he talks to her. And he's also kind of reeling. Before he even talks to her, he's like in his internal monologue, he is reeling about the fact that they haven't identified the relationship. She's like, well, do I ask her to be my girlfriend? Like, what is this gonna be? Like, I don't know. And he's just kind of having this overthinking anxiety of, I don't know what to do, because he feels like he's holding her back. He calls Trixie and he tells her about his situation with Violet, and Trixie responds with, I'm happy for you, Cole. He says, that's it. No words of wisdom, no advice, no scolding. She says, what would you like me to tell you? He says, I don't know, something, anything. She's young. Maybe I'm a creep. She said, is she of legal age? Did she consent? He says, yes. Then I don't see the issue. She's just vivacious, really going somewhere, you know. Trixie says, and you're not? Cole says, I don't feel like I am. Trixie responds with, okay, and have you asked her how she feels? Do you think that a woman who you've described to me as intelligent and going somewhere would saddle herself down who she perceives to be dead weight? What would that say about her? Presumably she knows about your leg now. He says, yeah. My prosthetic malfunctioned on our hike. She knows about it in graphic detail. She asks what was her response. He says she didn't seem to care at all. Trixie responds with, I've been telling you for 2 years and no one cares about your leg except for you. Cole says, I guess I needed proof. The universe forced my hand with this one. Trixie says, it has a funny way of doing that, doesn't it? He says, I guess so. I just don't want to hold her back. But you want to keep her? Cole says, yes. Trixie says, then don't hold her back. Bolster her up. Be her biggest fan. Anyways, it cuts to the race. It cuts to Cole's point of view of him being at the racetrack. Well, he's not on the racetrack or near it, but he's like in the little skybox, owner's box, whatever, watching the race. And he's incredibly anxious. And he has a bit of a poker face going because he's standing right next to Vaughn, or he's sitting right next to Vaughn. I think he's standing. And Vaughn makes a comment about him looking like he could kill someone. And in Cole's internal monologue, he's like, well, thank God my poker face is still intact because I don't feel like I could kill someone. I feel like I could die right now, because he's so anxious and worried about Violet and the race, and you know, the whole my dad died riding a horse in a race and yada yada yada, and so he's just having like PTSD flashbacks. Stefan comes up to them. Stefan Dauka was the dude who tried to buy Dee Dee, and also, which I didn't know about this, he employs Patrick Castle, which I didn't know until right now, till this very moment. And he comes up to Vaughn and Cole and basically says, I'm so sorry for Patrick's behavior. He is no longer employed under me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's good, right? Okay, cool. And Cole Automatic's like internal monologue when he came up was, I don't fucking like him. I don't like him and I don't like Patrick. Right? Okay. And then when Stefan says, oh, he's not employed with me anymore, he's like, oh, okay. I like him. I dislike him less now, right? And then he says, I'm sorry for his behavior. And Cole says, well, you shouldn't be saying sorry to us. You should say sorry to Miss Eaton. He's like, okay, let me track her down. Then he excuses himself, and it's a whole thing. And then Vaughn turns around and kind of makes a little comment about how, I wonder how Violet deals with you because you seem so like stern and serious. And Cole just looks at him like, I wonder how Billy deals with you. And then he kind of laughs at that, and Cole doesn't laugh, and he's watching the race, and everything goes good in the race. There's not much to talk about in the race. Everything goes good. She wins the race, obviously. It's just kind of watching it through Cole's point of view, trying to figure out his anxiety and stuff, but he feels a huge sense of relief once he, you know, sees that she won and stuff. Yeah, it kind of cuts there. It cuts with him trying to find her after the race and trying to congratulate her and stuff like that. Now, before I end off this video, or end off this section of the video, I will mention that there has been a lot of hints between Stefan and Myra. Okay, there's been a lot of things because Myra has become but she's been seen more in this book than she was seen in Off to the Races, and so has Stefan. Stefan has come up quite a little bit, right? And I don't know if it's the next book or if it's one of the books, but I think they're next. I think one of the books are next because they keep having little moments. It seems like Myra is a very dominating personality, and Stefan is obviously quite a scary dominating personality, but I think they had this moment where Stefan was looking for something or doing something, and Myra was like, come on, let me show you, and he just kind of like followed her. I don't know. I don't know, I don't remember. But I have a feeling that either the next book is gonna be that. That's all I have for you guys today. That's all I have for the update for today, because there was a whole lot of things. We found out a whole lot of things. Don't really know how the rest of the book is gonna go, but I mean, they still need to get together. They still need to say, oh hey, I love you, I love you, and stuff like that. They still have to say their I love yous. They still have to get together. I doubt I have that much left in the book, because I stopped at chapter 23, and this is how much left I have. So either the next update might be the last update, or there'll be about 2 more updates. Yeah, there'll probably be like 2 more updates. So yeah, this was my little update. I'll see you guys in a bit. Toodles. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Lou. I am back with the second and last update for this video. Well, a photo finish. I have finished the entirety of the book since the last time I updated you guys. So there has been a lot going on in a couple days. So I kind of don't remember a lot that's happening, but I do have notes. You can't really see them, and they're all in cursive, but I have notes. I wrote them whilst I was reading and stuff, so that when I could update you guys, I could remember some things. So I might fuck up a lot of the times, and this might be hard for me to remember everything that's happening, and I do not remember what I left you guys up on. But just bear with me. Bear with me. I will finish this update for you guys, and I'm gonna finish off this video. Also, yes, I have pimple patches right here. Don't worry about it. I'm breaking out. Leave me alone. Now, to get into the official update for this book. The last time I updated you guys, I'm pretty sure the last chapter I stopped at was maybe chapter 22, maybe chapter 23. I don't know. But last thing I have to do, you guys, there was a race. Violet won the race. Cole was very anxious at the race. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of information that we had developed in the last update. Like, there was a lot of things that we found out in the last update. Since then, they have spent so much time with each other. I think chapter 24 was them talking about how they've slept over each other's houses a lot. Like, they were just going through the little honeymoon phase where they would just sleep over a lot. I think there's a bit of a time jump, and it's like several weeks of them just being together and having this honeymoon phase. And I don't think they're necessarily officially together. I don't know if they defined the relationship, but Cole is very much in love with her. That's for sure. Like, he is so in love with her. Like, he keeps coffee at his house for her. That man doesn't like coffee. There's just so many little details of they're together. They've been together for a really long time. Now, in chapter 24, they go through the motions of waking up and putting coffee and getting dressed and getting ready for work. And they're basically living like they're married, right? And so they leave. When they're leaving and they're rushing out the door because they have to go to work, Violet kind of turns around and kisses him on the front porch while he's trying to lock the door. He kisses him. And then Billy's right there. And Billy sees that. And in this time, in this moment, Billy didn't know. No one really knew that they were together. So Billy knows now about them being together and being together for several weeks. And Violet kind of knew that she was there, and that's why she kind of kissed him, because she wanted to tell Billy. Obviously, she wants to tell her friends eventually. But they just hadn't talked about, you know, telling people that they're together or that they're doing stuff. I don't really know. In this moment, it's kind of this awkward phase of they're in a honeymoon phase. They clearly like each other. Cole is freaking in love with her. But they just haven't told anyone, and they just haven't said anything to define the relationship or anything like that. After this whole little situation where Violet kisses him in front of Billy, knowing that Billy is there and sort of making it known that they are somewhat together, Cole kind of confronts her, not in like a bad way. This is like all in one moment, very playful kind of way. He kind of turns around, he's like, you knew that she was there? He was like, yeah, well, I kind of saw her at the corner of my eye, and I just kind of kissed you because I didn't really know if we had defined a relationship, and I just wanted to tell her, but yeah. Cole is just like, well, you didn't have to do that. And she's like, well, yeah, but I wanted to, we need to figure out if we're going to be official, right? And they kind of acknowledge the fact that there is definitely in us
So they're pretty much official. It cuts to chapter 25, and chapter 25 is Violet going out for a test race. So she's walking around the ranch, and he's coming home from the office or from work or whatever the hell he was out doing, and he's trying to find Violet, and he's trying to see where she's at around the ranch. And now that Billy knows, he's just kind of a little more open to people knowing, and so he's walking around the ranch and he's asking, hey, where's Violet, da, 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 da. And they're over there, they're test racing, because Pippi has been being trained to be a racehorse, and they basically find out that she has good potential to be a racehorse. And so they have a test trial race on the ranch with Pippi and Dee Dee, where they race against each other and they figure out, you know, how far she can go, how far we can push her, and things like that. So they have a test race, and Vaughn and Hank are watching the test race, and then it's Violet on top of Pippi, and then Billy on top of Dee Dee. And so they're going against the race, and as we know, Cole has a lot of anxiety towards her riding horses, because, you know, his dad died riding a horse, he fell off, he died because of it, and yada yada yada. Just this the whole like PTSD, anxiety kind ofness whenever he sees someone that he really cares for riding a horse. And so he's trying to push himself to sort of sit there and be calm and try not to freak the fuck out about, you know, her racing. So he's sitting there, he's sitting with Vaughn and Hank, and everyone kind of knows that they're somewhat together, but they don't know for sure. They kind of just, it's speculation, it's rumor, right? And so he's seeing this practice race happen, and then all of a sudden Violet falls. She trips over, or something happens where Pippi kind of locks up and she falls out, and Cole freaks the fuck out. Like, he jumps over fences, runs over to her, looks at her, is trying to make sure she's okay. It's like, are you okay, Violet, are you alright? Like, da-da-da, just having this whole anxiety PTSD moment, right? She's okay, she's fine, she just had a little tumble and a fall, and in her brain she's like, I'm fine, I'm good, right? But she could see that he's like freaking out. But instead of her being like, oh, okay, no, I'm okay. Well, she does say that. She says, well, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, you have to calm down. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm good. I'm fine. But he's just like trying to touch her and trying to see if she's okay and making sure she doesn't get up, because what happens if something's broken or something's bleeding or whatever. Like, he's just having PTSD. And she and her in that moment, she's already frustrated because she's been falling off this horse, right? Or she fell off this horse, and she's just trying to see and push Pippi. And as soon as she tries to get up and get right back on the horse, he says, no, you have to sit down. I have to see if you're okay. She kind of gets this attitude of, I'm okay, what are you talking about? And she says, you guys, if I tell you I'm fine, I don't need to be handled with like a kid with gloves just because I'm the same size as one. And then she looks at Cole and says, Cole, babe, it's nice to see you, but I'm working right now. I'm coming to your place when I'm done. Billy, let's go again. Because before she says this, Billy kind of peeps this little moment that they're having and says to Violet, just take a minute, Violet, right? Just take a minute, let him settle that down, right? Because he's clearly having like an anxiety attack a little. But Violet takes it as, oh, he's trying to coddle me. Or he's trying to... I actually really don't understand what the fuck Violet was talking about in this moment. Like, I understand that she's been treated like a kid her entire life and she's been coddled and whatnot, but like, you know your man has PTSD, you know your man has anxiety, and you know he just saw you fall off a fucking horse. You know he's got PTSD with that, and you didn't think, oh wait, he's probably freaking the fuck out in this moment, and then just kind of brushed him off, right? So I don't know what the fuck was going on there, but kind of pissed me off. I kind of got pissed off at Violet there. Now, after Violet kind of snaps at Cole, he kind of gets back into his own mindset and just kind of realized what the fuck just happened. The fact that he jumped over a fence, ran over to her, make sure she's okay. He feels embarrassed, he feels shitty, and he remembers that everyone's fucking looking at him, and he remembers that he just freaked out in front of everybody. And so now he's like, nah, I need to go. And so he runs and he sprints off and he leaves and he goes back to his house. He sprints, he reads, and he runs back to his house. It cuts there and it goes into the next chapter. The next chapter is in Violet's point of view. Violet is talking to Billy and is basically mad at Cole for whatever fucking reason. And Violet is like, I don't think you should be mad at him. You didn't see how he was. Like, he was he wasn't okay. I think it would have made him feel better if you had just taken a minute to show him that everything was working in order, da 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 da. And Violet is like, well, why? I'm doing my job. I don't need him to be micromanaging me and telling me what to do. Can you imagine if I waltzed into his office and did the same thing? And in my head, I'm like, oh, well, you don't get it. Like, you don't get it, and you're mad for the wrong fucking reasons, right? And Billy said, I know, but sometimes when you care about someone, we make their priorities our own. You didn't see him, Violet. He sprinted. I thought he was going to hurl right onto the track. I don't think Cole's priority is micromanaging you. It's keeping you safe. Your safety is important to him. So throw the guy a bone, just like wiggle your toes and catch your breath next time before you jump right back up. And Violet says, didn't know you were on Cole's team. And in her internal monologue, she immediately notices that that was childish for her to say. And Billy says, I didn't know you were 12. And then just walks away. Says, see you later. And Violet's internal monologue is like, was I too hard on him? Snappy. I was miffed. I fell off because I wanted to give Pippi the best experience possible, and I didn't happen. I was being hard on myself, and I think that spilled over into being hard on Cole. Based on Hank's and Vaughn's faces, I feel like I might have been harsher than necessary, unintentionally as it might have been. It cuts to her going and talking to Cole. She goes over to his house, and she knocks on the door, and he says, come in. And she says, hey. And he's just not looking at her and just sitting down on the couch, just not looking at her. And she says, Cole, are you okay? Hey, look at me. And she notices how disheveled and broken and lost he looks, and just like, not okay he looks. And she says, I'm sorry I scared you. It wasn't my intention. Is this something that's been bothering you for a while? And he says, yes. She says, okay, we can work on that. Figure out a happy medium. I don't want you worrying about me like this. And then he says, then stop. She says, stop what? He says, making me worry. She says, tell me how and I'll try. He says, I can't do this. She says, what? He says, this. You and me, us, I can't do it. She says, why? She immediately starts freaking out. She's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Why? He says, the riding, the horse, it's the racing. It's more than I can handle. Day in and day out, every week, and my dad died on that fucking track, and I'm both drawn to it and repulsed by it. You deserve someone who can be there for you. You deserve someone who will be your biggest fan, and I can't do that. And Violet says, are you telling me if I found a new job, we'd be fine? Because she starts getting defensive, and she starts getting like, well, what the fuck's wrong with you? And she says, so you kept this going, pursued me, even knowing the job I've always dreamt of, and I'm finally making a name for myself at what would be a deal breaker for you? And she says, and now you have the gall to ask me to quit for you? She says, I would never ask you to quit for me. And she says, ask it, imply it, what's the difference? He says, Violet, no, nah, don't. I don't want to hear it. You've always been clear about your boundaries, and now I need to set my own. I spent a whole year thinking I might be the exception to your rule. That maybe, just maybe, I would be the one to change your mind, which is stupid, right? I'm never going to force you to change, and twice now, you've proven that I'm not worth changing for. He says, Violet, please, you know, you have to know it has nothing to do with da-da-da-da. And she cuts him off, and she says, I know, it's not me, it's you. Except it's not. You're so much more than you give yourself credit for. I wish you could see it in yourself, what I see in you, so much strength, so much love, but I can't make you embrace it. That's on you. I can't believe for 1 second that you don't want us. But you're stuck, Cole. You can't see the past one moment in your life, one terrible moment, and you're letting it define your entire existence. She says, when you're ready to make other moments just as important, let me know. This isn't me quitting on you, but I won't wait around forever, Cole. Figure your shit out. And then she leaves, and she walks out the door, and she basically kind of gets, she's basically telling him, hey, get your shit together, and then we'll come back to this. And so they're basically taking a break. And she makes some pretty fucking valid points while saying, hey, we should maybe take a break. They haven't talked for 3 days. And everyone knows that they haven't talked for 3 days. Because they can see that she's in a mood and that he's in a mood. Right? And Myra kind of gives her some advice because she notices how bad of a mood she's in, and she kind of says, like, you guys are perfect for each other. I don't understand why you guys are not together, yada yada yada. And while they're also having, and something I should mention now is her and Myra are having a conversation, and it kind of starts off with Violet being in a bad mood and Myra being in a good mood, which is interesting because Myra's never really in a bad mood nor in a good mood. She's kind of very calm, very mellow, very chill. And so Violet kind of notices that, and she's like, hey, why are you in a good mood? She says, I'm in a good mood because I just came from a meeting with Vaughn and your boyfriend. They're going to build me a clinic here on the farm for me to work out of. So they're making a clinic on the farm. And Violet says, that's amazing, congratulations, but he's not my boyfriend. And And Myra makes a comment. She says, he looks just as shitty as you, actually. Worse, the man's got it bad. What did you do to him? And she says, what did I do to him? Why is everyone taking his side? And Myra saying, no one's taking a side, Violet. I just know you're strong. And yeah, that man might fill out a t-shirt like it was painted on him. And he could probably bench press me, but he's in pain. It's written all over him. Even before you guys had your little spat, I diagnose animals who don't talk for a living. He's basically the same thing. Trust me. And Violet says, you think I'm strong? And she says, I do. And you shine bright. Bright enough that a man like that might need you to light his way. And then it cuts to chapter 26. In chapter 26, Violet, Billy, and Myra having a cutesy little date in a meadow of flowers, I think, and they're on like a blanket, and they're like in the middle of a meadow, and they're passing around a bottle of wine, and they're looking up at the sky and just yapping. Which is, you know what, hell yeah, you know what, yeah, you know what, yeah, basically just talking and reminiscing. And Myra and Billy knew how down bad she was, and so they kind of wanted to take her out, but they didn't want to, you know, take her out to like a pub or anything, so they settled, you know, laying in a meadow. After this little advice moment, this little let's talk with my girls kind of moment, she kind of builds up the courage to go talk to him after 3 to 4 days. And she is a little drunk. She's walking from the meadow to the farmhouse, and she goes up and she's about to knock on the door, and then Cole is right behind her. And Cole says, careful, I hear the guy who lives here is a real dick. She says, he pretends to be. He says he is. She says, he's not. You're stubborn. Yup. He says, I'm sorry. She says, sorry for what? He says, for messaging you for 2 years, for being intrigued by all your questions and sticking around when we clearly weren't after the same things, for talking to you every day, all night sometimes, for coming to rely on a woman I'd never met to make me a fool, to make me feel good, for embarrassing you to save myself, for the way I spoke to you the day you won the qualifier. Not sure I'll ever forgive myself for that one. For being growly shithead when you came to live with me, for not being able to resist you, for being dishonest, for not telling you things you deserve to know, and for not being what you deserve. He says, I'm sorry because I fell in love with you somewhere along the way, and now I don't know what to do with that. She says, you love me? He says, yeah, I do. And they're like, over here crying and shit. And then she says, well, then get your shit together and start loving me. And he says, like, it's not that easy. I'm fucked up, Violet. That's hard work that I need to do. The shit in my head, it doesn't just get better because I want it to. And she says, don't you want it to? Do you want it to get better? Because from everything I've seen, you're pretty stagnant. He says, Violet. She says, no, you are. Don't lie to me and pretend you're not. Take the demons by the horns. I don't need you better. What is better anyway? That's not a goal. That's not quantifiable. Pick something you can do and fucking do it. I don't need you down at the track. I don't even need you at every race. I don't need you to love horses, but I need you to love me. She says, I know you see yourself as dark, but you aren't. You're swirling color, all different shades, a mosaic. You're complicated and beautiful, and I'm not quitting on you, so you better not quit on me. Gives him an ultimatum. She says, Pippi has her debut race in 2 weeks. Tell me a plan by then or don't. At least I'll know how to proceed with my life. He says, are you giving me a deadline? And she says, yeah, 2 weeks should be long enough for you to decide if you're going to try or not. That's all. Not better, not healed, not different. I don't want you different. I want you with your jagged edges and your growly moods. I know everyone else has let you hide away. No one has gone out of their way to check on you, to love you. Everyone around you has failed you so thoroughly, given up on you so easily. I want you, but you need to want you too. I want you enough for the both of us. I can't want you enough for the both of us. And then that's the end of the fucking chapter. And it cuts to chapter 27. Now, chapter 27 is in Cole's point of view. Cole reeling about everything that Violet said to him last night, and he getting a therapy session. Basically, he went to Trixie's office, and he's laying down in Trixie's office, and he's basically just yapping to her, telling her all these things, trying to figure out what the hell is gonna happen, trying to figure out his relationship and stuff like that, and just having like a normal therapy session. Now, what happens during this therapy session is he's trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with himself. He's trying to figure out how he can fix himself. And Trixie ends up asking him a question about, well, what do you like about her? And he gives her this whole spiel and this whole list of, well, this is why I like her. And he tells her about his want and his need not to feel so shitty. It's like he's trying to get better, basically. And yeah, Trixie's just giving him advice on it and stuff like that. And that's the whole therapy. And it cuts to him showing up to the cottage where his brother and Billy live, where Vaughn and Billy live. And he's kind of beating himself up because he hasn't talked to Vaughn in quite some time. I mean, throughout this entire book, they haven't talked not once. He's just trying to figure, like, he's just gonna go try to talk to him and try to explain to him why he lied about his leg and things like that, or maybe tell him about his leg and what's not. Now, he ends up having a conversation with Billy instead of Vaughn, And in this conversation, they end up sharing a beer, or not sharing a beer, but they're drinking, they're talking in there, and yeah, he's talking about the fact that he's trying to figure out what to do, and the ultimatum, and just basically the whole thing that he's been trying to figure out the entire fucking day. And Billy is just yapping to him, and she says, what do you need to do? What you need to do is level up. It's not about Violet, it's about believing you are worthy of her. He says, I know I pay someone to help me with these types of revelations. She said, okay, cash your check is fine. And he laughs at that. And he hasn't really ever really liked Billy like that, but he's starting to like Billy. And she's always called him Big Bro. And he is always kind of not liked that nickname, and just, this is their little bonding moment, okay? She says, what would make you feel worthy of her? He says, that's a great fucking question, I don't know. She says, what's holding you up? This? She taps her finger to my temple. Or this? And she tapped my prosthetic. And he pauses, and he's like, wait, what? And he asks, how did you know about that? And she says, if you're asking if Violet told me, the answer is no. But I watch people and horses for a living. I think I can see things that other people don't. Body languages, ticks, clues. Is a horse scared, uncomfortable? Where can I diagnose a problem? I'm constantly assessing. And you hide it well, but your gait is just a little off. You always wear long pants and high socks, and no matter the temperature, you massage your leg without even noticing, and I put it together a while ago. And he says, you haven't said anything. And she says, why would I say something? First, it doesn't matter to me, and second, it's not my business. He says, does Vaughn know? She says, no. You once told him that my secret was a conversation to be had between me and him, and my feelings on this are the same. That's for the two of you to talk about. He says, do you think he'll forgive me? She says, forgive you for what? He's your little brother. He loves you. She says, what about Violet? She says, what about Violet? For what? You plan on breaking her heart? He says, no, not if I can help it. She said, okay, good. What's the holdup? He taps on his temple. She says, he gives her the spiel of, this is why I'm scared of losing Violet. She says, okay, so are you afraid of losing Violet, or are you afraid of horses? Because he mentions about the fact that he doesn't like her riding horses and stuff like that. It freaks him out. And she says, no one has ever asked me that. Can I be both? I used to ride with my dad, and I wasn't scared then, but I don't know anymore. And Billy says, yeah, man, you can be whatever you want, except for her #1 fan, because that's me. You'll have to fight me for it. But if you don't fight me for it, some other guy will, and if there is the risk of her maybe, possibly, improbably, one day dying with having to watch that, the family, the wedding, the babies, Violet will probably make the cutest babies. And his internal monologue, he's like, why the fuck did Billy just tell me that? Like, that's such a bad thing to picture. This conversation ends with Billy having a plan, and we don't find out this plan until later, okay? It cuts, and it's chapter 28, and I think he ends up having a conversation with Vaughn, but we don't see the conversation with Vaughn. Now, chapter 28 it's been 2 weeks since she's given him the deadline, and it's Pippi's maiden race day. She's racing Pippi for the first time. She's kind of in a shitty mood because Cole hasn't talked to her in 2 weeks. Yeah, the race starts, she's in the race, and she ends up winning the race. Yay! She ends up winning the race. Now, I'm kind of smooching over this because it's really not that important. Like, it's important, but it's not that important, okay? Basically, Pippi's a good fucking racehorse. She's an amazing racehorse. She fucking beats them by miles. And when she's done racing, she's crossing the finish line, and someone else is, like, one of the jockeys and one of the horses riding up to her and says, congratulations. And when she looks over, she sees Cole on a horse, acting like a jockey. And she's like, wait, what? What's happening? In 2 weeks, for the last 2 weeks, Cole has been figuring out how to ride a horse with a prosthetic. So for Pippi's maiden race, he can ride the horse, or a horse, in the same race. And that's how he gets over his fear. Obviously, he still has PTSD. Obviously, he still has anxiety. But that's how he gets over his fear. So after she wins this race, he comes up to her on a horse with a little helmet, with all the pants and all the shit, acting and looking like a jockey. Comes up to her and says, congratulations. She just looks at him like, what the fuck? Well, you were in the race this entire time. What the hell's going on? And he gives her the whole spiel of, oh, I've been doing this for this whole week, and da-da-da-da, and da-da-da, and this, yeah, whatever. I rode a horse. He learned how to ride a horse for her. Raced in the same race that she was racing for her. And yeah, they say, I love you. And they say, hey, we're together now. They confess their little love to each other, and it's so cute, and it's so nice, and so cute. It's so cute. And that was kind of the last chapter of the goddamn book. They had a little moment after the race, but I can't really talk to you about that one. Now, the epilogue throws me the fuck off because the epilogue is set a year later. A year later, it starts off with Billy talking to Cole. Cole's up on a horse. He's on this horse. He now has this horse called Gold Digger, or GD. It's an older horse. He rides it whenever. And Billy's kind of giving him more lessons on riding a horse with a prosthetic. And she's holding a baby. And at first, I'm like, wait, when did Vaughn and her have a kid? And then Billy and Cole are having a little conversation. And then he curses in front of the baby. And Violet comes out and says, Cole Harding, what the fuck are you doing cursing in front of our baby? And then I'm just in fucking shock. Because they had a fucking kid. In a span of a year, after they got together, back together after that race, they had a baby and they got married. She found out she was pregnant about right after that happened. After they got back together, she got pregnant. She found out she was pregnant. She was fucking freaking the fuck out. But they worked through it. And right after she gave birth, the birth was smooth. Right after she gave birth, she started getting back on a horse. She ended up finishing her season while also being monitored by a lot of doctors and making sure that she could ride a horse while she was being pregnant. So she finished the season while being pregnant and then took a break because obviously she was going to give birth and she was going to have her baby, and then got right back onto another horse a month later. So they have a baby girl named Lila. And then while she was pregnant, they got married. And they got married because this is the bonus scene. The bonus scene is they got married at her family ranch, which is called Wishing Well Ranch or something like that. He met her dad and he met all of her brothers, and they got married at this ranch, and it all happened in a fucking year. And they're living on the ranch and they're living in the farmhouse and they have a baby girl named Lila, and that's just how the fucking book ends. Like, they're basically together, they're having a wonderful time, they created this little family for themselves, and that's just kind of how the book ends. And I was just like, what the fuck? I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know she was going to have a baby. I didn't think she was going to get married that quickly. I thought maybe we were going to see the engagement and whatnot, but like, we didn't see that. So the epilogue was us finding out that they had a baby, them having a Sunday dinner with Vaughn and Billy. They do that every Sunday now. They have like a little family Sunday dinner. Myra, they mentioned something about Myra going and helping with Stefan, something on his ranch or whatever. The next book, I'm pretty sure, is Stefan and her. So that was a photo finish by ELSIE Silver. I finished the goddamn book. I finished the book. That was the rundown. This is what happened, and it was great. I really liked this book. I liked this book a lot more than I liked this book. I liked this book a lot more than the last book. I gave Off to the Races by ELSIE Silver a 2.5 out of 5, which is one of the lower ratings that I gave, because I didn't really love that book. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I actually really enjoyed this book. Not like, oh my god, I love this book, I will think about this book forever kind of thing. But I definitely liked this book more Off to the Races. So if I gave Off to the Races a 2.5, I'm going to give her, should I give her a 3 or 3.5? I'll give her a 3.5. I'll be nice and I'll give her a 3.5. She was good. She's not super memorable. I'm probably gonna forget. Girl, I was already forgetting what the hell happened, and I finished this today. Do I have any ending results? I wish we had gotten the engagement. I wish we had gotten the engagement. I don't know. I wish we had gotten a little bit more with Violet and her mom, or like her trying to figure out her pregnancy, because I know she's got some PTSD with her mom dying, giving birth to her, and and like, I wish we had gotten to see the first interactions with Cole and her brothers and stuff, and I wish we had gotten to see that. Yeah, this was a photo finish by ELSIE Silver. I really don't have that many thoughts about this book. I don't know. I got surprised in the epilogue in the bonus scene, because I thought like, oh, maybe he was gonna propose or do something like that, or I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I really don't know how to feel. I'm not like, oh my god, this was such a cutesy little book. I mean, it was a cutesy little book, but like, I don't know. It's a 3.5. If you guys made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys do like this video, please comment down below, leave a like, whatever, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And yeah, I will probably see you guys for the next book, which I think is called the next book is called The Front Runner, and I think that's Stefan and Myra's book. I do not know what to expect in that book, but I have a feeling that might be my favorite. This was a photo finish. I don't know if you guys have ever read it, but if you guys did, I hope I didn't offend anyone who loves this book, and if you didn't like it, to each their own, it's okay. I hope you enjoyed. I will probably post next week, or not next week, but maybe next week, about probably the first video for a front runner, or whatever the fuck the next book is called. Anyways, okay, I'm talking too much. I'm yapping too much. Bye, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye. Love you. Doodles.